Hello everyone, this is Steve Gray, and this is everything you're going to need to play an acoustic, electric, bass, or guitar. So first things first, obviously you need a guitar. This one right here is called an Epiphone Les Paul Standard, but the make and model doesn't really matter as long as it's something that's halfway decent. They make $100 guitar kits all day. They are called Squire by Fender. They come with a little amp too, sometimes a gig bag. Not always a gig bag, but it's kind of hit or miss. So, the first thing, obviously, besides a guitar that you're going to want to need is a tuner. So this allows you to put your guitar in tune, especially since learning it by ear takes a little while if you're not musically inclined and you're just starting out. This guy right here, just a little chord tuner, was about 10 bucks. There's a bunch of different types. This one can plug directly into the guitar through a guitar cable. There's also ones that clip onto the headstock of the guitar and allow you to tune it that way. So, these are tuning keys. That's how you get your guitar in tune. That's all you really need to know about that. Second thing you're going to want is, if it's an electric guitar, some sort of instrument cable. The ones that typically come with the $100 packages are pretty junky, so good brands are Monster, Fender, Stag I've been using for a while. I don't know what this one's called. This one is called the Leader Roland. Basically, if it's something that's a little thicker and not a cheapy, junky cable, just ask your local guitar shop or guitar center, whoever you got, to help you out with getting a decent cable. Because if you use the cheap cable through a decent amp, it's going to sound like crap. Second thing you're going to need, which I have right here, I'm also going to hold up, this is just another random strap, a guitar strap of some sort. Obviously, you're going to want to be standing while you're playing. Some people prefer to sit, but a guitar strap is always handy to have around. Next thing, you're going to need some sort of amp. This is just a little cheap, I think it's a 10-watt amp. You're going to either need it for bass or guitar. Either or does not matter. It will definitely help you out, obviously, by amplifying the sound. You don't need an amp, technically, with an electric guitar. I'm in E flat, so that sounds weird. There's different tunings. You'll learn about that later. Another thing that is very helpful. This is a book with a bunch of different chords in it. I'm just going to open up to a random page so everyone can see. Block my face. This will help you learn chords, especially for acoustic. This is going to be your haven. Every chord, pretty much, you can think of in this book. There's 1,000+ chords. I'll put links to everything in the description so that way you know where to find things. But yeah, that's pretty much all you need. One thing I'm forgetting, a gig bag or a hard shell case, either or. So this guy right here is called the gig bag. This is actually for a bass. If you have a bass or a guitar, make sure it is specific to that instrument. For instance, a bass typically is longer than a guitar, so you're going to need a larger gig bag for a bass than a guitar. These guys will probably run you anywhere from $20 to $40 depending on the quality. I'll open it up for you. You can see all the padding inside. And then if you look up front here, a bunch of different zippers, etc. to store cables, tuners, whatever. Alright, gonna chuck that aside. Another type of case. This is a hard shell case. This one is actually specific for an acoustic. Not that I have an acoustic right now, but I have a case lying around. These typically have latches on the side, are a little nicer, give you a little bit more protection, and they're typically soft and fuzzy inside. Sometimes there's a compartment to store your stuff, but they are heavier, they are more expensive. A hard shell case is probably going to run you bare minimum $100 for a cheapy one. So your best bet is just get a gig bag and make sure you don't pile a bunch of stuff on top of your instrument. Another thing to note when buying a bass, here's my bass here, this is called an Epiphone Thunderbird, is the straps need to be longer. Yet again, as I said, typically the bodies for basses versus guitars, basses are always longer, so you're going to need a longer strap. Also, for weird shapes like this, offset guitars and basses, sometimes you need a specific gig bag for that instrument. For example, this one, because of the shape and length of it, it does not fit properly in the gig bag I have for it. The headstock kind of sticks out, and there's a few dings up there already, unfortunately, for it. The last thing, also one of the most important things, a guitar pick or a bass pick. So most people play with their fingers on bass. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, you can do the same with guitar. You just use your thumb to strum. But there are different gauges of guitar and bass picks. For bass picks, I recommend 2 millimeters and up because it's a thicker pick. For guitar, pretty much whatever feels good to you, because you can use thicker picks, you can use thinner picks. This one, as you can see, this is a 1 millimeter. And it works pretty well for the bass, no problem. So it's all personal preference. So I recommend getting some sort of guitar pick, a variety pack, because there are different shapes. There's like a jazz style. There's curved. Some edges are curved. Some are pointier than others. This is like a standard one. This is just called a Fender heavy pick. That's my personal preference right now. Dunlop, if I'm saying that correctly, makes a great guitar pick. So when buying a guitar or bass for the first time, I recommend, if you can afford it, getting something more mid-ranged as opposed to super cheap. Because if you get one of those cheap, really shitty $50 kits off of Amazon, the guitar is going to sound like crap and feel like crap, and it's going to hurt your fingers every time you do it. So something like this is technically a mid-range bass. This is about $300. Same with that other guitar I showed you. It's about a $300 guitar. But as I said, if you can't afford it, your best bet is to go with Squier. They make really good guitars, and if you need to, it's called a setup. Basically, they adjust a rod that goes through the length of the neck of the guitar, and they adjust the string height, which is down here. This is called the bridge. And so that way, there's no buzzing or anything like that, because that can get super annoying really quick if everything's buzzing and you're getting like ghost notes like every other fret. These are called frets, by the way. Should have mentioned that earlier. Just to name some parts of the guitar since we're here. This up here is called the nut. There's a cover. Underneath this cover is called a truss rod. Typically you can adjust that with an Allen key. Yet again, these are the tuners. Strings, obviously. This is called a pick guard. So you're not scratching the crap out of it, even though I think this one is kind of scratched the crap anyway. These are either called humbuckers if they're big like this, or pickups. There are two types. There's active and passive. Active, you need a 9-volt battery to operate. Passive, you can just plug it in and you're good to go. These are called strap locks or tuner locks. Technically, they're just strap buttons on this one. Lock ones, basically, they go over the strap and you cannot get your strap out. I recommend those two. They're pretty cheap. You can get a cheap pair for like probably $10-ish. They lock the strap onto the guitar so that way if you're swinging it around or whatever, it will not fall off. These are your volume and tone pots. Each one of these behind the panel in the back. This is how you adjust your tone and your volume. So some have switches. My other guitar has a switch between the pickups. So for instance, in the top position it would be this pickup, the middle position it would be both, the bottom position it would be down. For this particular bass, if this is all the way up, it's this pickup. If this one is all the way up, this is the volume for this pickup. And if this one's down and this one's all the way up, it's just this pickup by itself, not both together. So yet again, I think that's about all you need to know. To get started, I would recommend watching YouTube videos like I did. You can pick up songs fairly quick. Something I recommend to get started, I'll show you real quick. It is called the 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise, and it is what it sounds like. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jump down to the next string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next string, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you start with your pinky and go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you move down a fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And you do that down the neck. And then you go from the bottom of the neck, go back up to the top of the neck. And that will that'll start your calluses going on. And that will also help you get a feel for the neck of your guitar or your bass. One last thing I have to say before I leave. Please do not buy a first act guitar or anything like that, because out of the box they are just god-awful. You're going to have to spend $40 to get the thing set up. You're probably going to have to put new strings on it right out of the box because they suck. And from experience, because that was my first guitar, was a first act guitar, I blew up the amp within 3 days because I cranked it too loud. So do not buy first act unless you know what you're doing, because those are probably the cheapest cheap things you can buy, as opposed to like some sort of crappy Chinese junk you get directly from China themselves. So yet again, this is Steve Gray signing off. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a good one.